Okay.
Okay.
So episode 25.
25. Now that's a quarter of the way to the century. That's what I'm
It's a milestone.
It is.
I think it's a milestone. And like you said after the one we did the other day, you're like, did you ever think 20 years ago?
I know. So I was
That we would be
texting Ellen
doing-
I was like, oh my God, can you imagine 20 years ago if someone said, "Oh, you remember Ellen Parker? You remember Katie Miller? You guys are going to be doing a podcast, in 2024. And first, my thing was like, first would be like, okay,
What's a
yeah,
podcast?
whatever. And what's a podcast?
Actually, not even 20 years ago. It would have been 30 years ago or more. We met in
I
middle
know. Why do
school.
I kind of forget the whole beginning of the 2000s. I immediately go to like 2017 or 10. I forget about
Or maybe you just feel like we're only in our 30s.
Okay, that works too. I'll just go with that.
I'm 52 chronologically, but I'm 27 at heart, as evidenced by
I
some
don't
of my
even
behavior.
know. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't know if I'd want to be 27. I might
What's your
have to
soul age is? What's your soul age?
and older probably.
You ever
My
have you ever
spirit
seen
age just like, okay, all right, all right, what's our topic today? We have a guest.
our topic? We have
Yeah.
a guest today,
Mhm.
and our topic, of course, I looked up some articles, but
Mhm.
I didn't want like I just honestly, the news of the world is just not doing me righteous right now. I mean,
Okay.
like a lot of the article, there's so many, like that France case we've been talking about, there have been 2, 3, 4 more
Oh
stories that have come out.
no.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you hear about the CIA agent, the 30-year CIA agent who had been drugging and raping women?
Oh,
He just got convicted.
God.
He just got convicted. Okay, goes back to our little conversation we had about people in powerful
Power.
positions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's just so many of them, and I was like, and you get a little weary.
I was gonna say, watch that path. You don't want to go down there too long. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a little weary. So today we have a guest, and as you explained it to me, she's an advocate, and she has worked with survivors,
Mhm.
victims of domestic violence. So we are right back in our domestic violence, like head on
Mhm.
topic. And this I think is really important because, like I told you at work, I co-lead a domestic violence support group.
Mhm.
I think I told you that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when you see somebody who's really in it and they're kind of paralyzed to make a move to get out of it because of all the what ifs,
Mhm.
like or how, like, or how am I going to support myself? How am I going to, how do I even get out? How do I, where do I go? And can't afford my own place, and I can't afford this, and what about my kids? And so those are like so many of the questions that these people need answers to, so that they can, so I call it like analysis paralysis, like when they're
Mhm.
just like thinking, and then they can't make a move because they're thinking about all the things that could go wrong, or how it couldn't work, or how
Yeah.
badly it could go.
Naturally, you're gonna think about all the barriers. Sure.
Right. So, and the obstacles, and, and obviously at the forefront of their mind is the person that they're trying to get away from.
Mhm.
Um, how many stories have we heard about, a spouse or a partner wanting to leave and winding up dead? There's, numerous examples of that. So
Mhm.
this, I was looking forward to this one because I want to hear everything she has to say,
Yeah.
like, to all of that.
Yep. So
So
yeah.
yeah.
So Amy, I'm gonna have her tell her background, but she's worked in a couple different capacities where women are survivors, and how we're gonna talk about those stories, as well as Amy's gonna share with us, you know, the most um successful ways to approach folks who are in those positions, because you want to help them. And if you can't get connected with them and then make them feel safe, that's not happening. So,
Exactly.
yeah. All right. Should we bring her in?
Yeah.
All right, Amy,
Amy.
come on in. Welcome.
Hi, good
Hello.
afternoon. Hi.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Welcome, Amy. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So
course.
what, first, if I could ask you, so I came running in after you and I had spoke about something. I said, Amy, would you be on our podcast? And what were your thoughts about talking about all this stuff?
So first of all, I've never been on a podcast.
Okay.
Not very great with technology, so this is all very new to me.
Well, you got here.
I got here. Yep.
We can hear you.
You're
Good.
here. You are here.
Yeah. So my background. So my name is Amy. I went to school for social work is really what I went to school for. I've lived many places. I feel like I've been around the world. Did some work with pregnant teens. I've worked with survivors of rape. I've worked with survivors of domestic violence. My role currently is I work in the military, and so I work with a lot of helping agencies, people who want to help. I find that really encouraging, that the military has something that could be set up. So I feel fortunate to be in the role that I'm in, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And thank you. I mean, thank you for even wanting to be in that role.
Yeah, right.
'Cause it can't be
Yeah.
easy. Can't be easy.
Yeah,
know?
I hear a lot of things, and I'm pretty protected. I can't say anything to anybody.
Mhm.
I have 100% confidentiality in my role. So I feel like that's really helpful when clients or military members or their family members come to me. I can't go spreading people's business around, or even tell anybody, hey, this person came to speak to me about XYZ, problem or whatever. So I keep that real close hold. I have to.
Mhm.
Otherwise I'm subjected to jail time, and that wouldn't be good for me. I don't want to go to jail. So I feel like I have a little bit of protection, really, when survivors or people who are going through some kind of hard stuff. They really need like an ally. They need somebody who is going to be on their side. Sometimes that means telling them some hard things, like you gotta clean it up, or you've got to get your act together.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't know where to go. And so I see myself as kind of like a community partner, I guess. Someone who can get people connected to the right people. I do know, I mean, I've always been very outgoing. I've always been very, I remember people's faces or people's names, and I'm a good connector, is I guess what I would say. I know people at other bases. I know other people in other branches of the military they're helpful for the things that people need. People always have problems. It doesn't matter where you go. It's kind of like your bill collector. It follows you. Your stuff can follow you. So,
Yep.
but I really think, a lot of I hope a lot of the way that I help people is I kind of let people know, like, you've got to change your mindset. You've got to, if you want something to change, like, I can't do that for you. You've got to change it yourself. I
Mhm.
can help you. I can help you get to the right people. I can help you with making lists and, drawing out your pros and your cons. But I mean, you got to make the change.
Yeah.
So that's really where I come from. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm glad that you mentioned mindset. I raised my hand. I'm glad you mentioned mindset, because the saying is, like, change your mindset, change your life, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is within your power to do that.
It
It
is.
is.
And sometimes I don't think, I think people lose that power, or they think they don't have it. And sometimes it's just somebody else saying, hey, you've got the power to change that. You got the gumption, you got the gun, the gung ho to go do it. I tell it to my kids, like, if you want to raise your grade in math, like, I can't do the math problem for you. I can teach you and I can get you all the help you need, but you got to take the test, man.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where and when people are going through some hard things, I mean, their self-esteem is low. They just feel not good. They can't see their way out of it. And so I hope I can be a light and help people see where they can get to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are, okay, because I have like specific questions I want to ask
Okay.
because of people I have in mind,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That I know. So say somebody's in a situation that they want to get out of. And they have a young child that they need to also get out of the situation.
Mhm.
In your experience and with your experience, what is the best, especially if they have fear of their spouse? What are the steps that you suggest? What is the best way to do that, the most successful way to do that, to actually get out?
Mm.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
That's really hard because you're not just talking about one person, you're talking about somebody who under the age of 18, that the spouse or the partner probably has access to that child as well, right?
Right.
Um, the first thing is you've got to I feel like you have to make a plan. You've got to find somebody who is going to help you. And I think in society, we don't like to think that people are bad or that people could do something to hurt somebody else, because we want to think that people are good. And so you really have to find an ally who says, I can help you. I'm a list person. I like organization. So if it were me or if I was helping somebody, my go-to would be a list. What are the things that I can do? Can I pack a suitcase or a bag? Can I put it at somebody's house?
Yeah.
Can I, without going too deep, like can I hide my car somewhere in somebody's garage? Can I make a plan to get out of town with this person? Involving kids, I mean, that is harder because kids are in school, kids are in sports, kids are in, they're involved in circles and
Well,
stuff.
also parental rights, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, start researching, what are my parental rights? What are the things that I can do to keep my parental rights? Because you don't want to give up custody or lose custody of your child.
Right. Because isn't it right? So and that's why we have this whole underground system,
Yeah.
where you see the mother and child are missing at Walmart. Well, that's because they weren't given many options sometimes, right? Because of that custody condition. I mean,
Yeah.
the other parent can demand to know where that child is, or you could be accused of kidnapping, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's it gets really scary. I think also too, just finding, you want to find help, somebody who can help you, but I really think that you kind of have to have that professionalism help as well. So
Mhm.
finding an agency or something that offers some kind of protection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like an agency, so like the National Domestic Violence Hotline will, and as we know, you can call it, you can text it, you can
Hmm.
go on the website, and they've got the kill button if the person walks in the room while you're on it. They do walk people through leaving. They will.
Yeah.
And then there's also obviously state agencies, or local. I mean, like here in Buffalo, we have Haven House. And, in Haven House, if you don't know, if you're not from Buffalo, obviously it's for women, and it's for women who have left. And they, I believe we talked about this once before, they will actually go and get the person from
Mhm.
their home if needed. Like they'll
Yeah. They'll pick
transport
you
them.
up. Yeah.
Mhm.
They'll transport them.
Hmm.
see, there's the practical side of it, right, Amy? Like you said, like make a list, pack a bag, move the car, get an ally, make sure maybe you have like cash on hand, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Because you have to remember in a lot of these situations, the person, and we'll speak specifically to women maybe, doesn't have access to funds,
Right.
right?
Right.
May not have cell phone.
Right.
True.
Because when we talk about abuse, we have to talk about financial, technological, things being withheld. So there's the practical parts of it, but then there's also, and both of you can speak to this, I'm sure there's also the mental and emotional part of it and the physical, but then I think a lot of people, when we talk about mindset, that's what I was saying, like with analysis paralysis, it might take somebody, and there are people out there who might watch this or listen to this who've never been in one of these situations, so they can't understand it. It might take the person 3 weeks just to start the list.
Oh,
That's
You're right.
where they're at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I think that you also, you have to be committed to it. If you're going to leave, you've got to leave. You can't go back.
Would you find a lot of faltering in that part, Amy? Like there'd be like, okay, let's do the list. I'm ready. And then the backpedaling.
I mean, I have seen that,
Yeah.
because you are emotionally attached to this person. You've had a child with this person.
Right.
You share finances with this person. Maybe you probably share a home with this person. Um, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. I had a professor once told me, all these family members that you have, you don't choose them, but you can choose your spouse. So choose wisely. And that
Oh,
has always stuck in my head. And I'm very blessed. My husband has stuck by me. I mean, we have a great relationship. Um, and I guess I'm part of the few that can say that, but I think you just really need to choose wisely when you're choosing your spouse or your significant other.
yeah.
Sometimes you don't think about that, but I mean, we're in it for the long run, and we knew that from the beginning.
Mhm.
I don't want to say people make bad choices, but 20 years ago, I probably would have made different choices. I know I
Different
did.
choices. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you have to think in the long run too, how's this going to affect me? Of course, you don't know that when you're 20, 25 years old,
Right.
being older, and I'm probably not more wiser, but maybe more senile. I don't know. um, but I've been really blessed to be in a fantastic relationship with my husband, and he's the person I chose. So that's who I'm sticking with.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I know people can change, and I know, you can always have good things come from bad situations, but I just think you have to be committed to it. Whatever you're gonna commit to, it's gotta be
Yeah. If you're,
100%,
if you're committing to go, then you gotta be
That's right.
ready to do that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you waffle,
Yeah.
then because we're think about all the dynamics that are involved, right? Like
It's tough.
it could be physically abusive, emotionally
Yeah.
abusive, sexually abusive, mentally abusive. And if, and which we always talk about the power dynamic with, the abuser as, compared to the abused, and who holds the power, who thinks they hold the power. Um, and and that's what I mean. Like when people haven't been in this situation, like when I say, oh, it takes 3 weeks for this person to make a list. Somebody who's never been in this situation be like, what the hell? Why don't they just make the list? Get it going. Like, come on, move it along. You don't understand. Okay. And I don't mean that to be nasty to people who haven't been in it. They don't understand.
No, it's just a
Okay.
lack of knowledge. You're not being nasty. Yeah.
Right. It's just that the damage that has been done, okay? Or like my sister says, the buttons that have been installed, right?
Yeah.
There is a lack of confidence in yourself. There is self-doubt through the roof. That's why the progress may seem so glacial to other people
Mhm.
about leaving.
Yeah.
And and, like you say, like, commit 100%. If this person that you're involved with, that you're trying to leave, and hopefully, obviously, anybody who wants to leave is doing this completely in secret because
Oh, for
the other
sure.
person can't know.
Yeah.
So when you go, like Katie said, you have to go.
Yeah.
You can't go
Mhm.
back, like you said, because then then the power swings the other way, right? So like you have to you have to realize you have power. That's very
Yep.
hard for a lot of people to realize in these situations. It was very difficult for me to realize in this situation. I went through all of the classic thoughts in my head, which a lot of people do. What about my kids? What about my kids? What about my kids? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? But then because I had these thoughts for years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when I
Mhm.
finally made the decision, I made the decision. And
Mhm.
it was, I just like blurted it out. So I was not in the position where I had to pack my kids in the middle of the night and, go to a safe house. That was not my situation, but I do know people who that was their situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's terrifying. And, some of them are looking in their rearview mirror to see if the person's behind them. So the mental and emotional part of this is probably the biggest part of it. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
like that's what keeps people from either going or keeps them just making the process seem like it takes so long. But I think things like making a list and doing things like that are like logical and practical, making a list, packing a bag, I think that helps with that because that's forward movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're in that situation, you might not even think to make a list. So really kind of seeking out that professional, um, they might be able to help with that. And I've helped with that. What are the things, if you had to leave right now, what are the things that you would grab for you and your child?
Right.
Is it medication? Is it a pillow? Is it a blanket or a stuffy or something that is comforting to the child?
Mhm.
um you might just be leaving with what you've got in your backpack, um and you might not be in that mindset of, man, I didn't even think about to pack a toothbrush or to pack my medication, or I mean, you might not even be there. But a professional might be able to say, hey, these are the things, if you were to leave tonight or tomorrow night or whenever this weekend,
Mhm.
what are the things that you could take from your house, or what are the things that you could take in your car and get you out of that situation.
And it would hold you over until you can get to
Yeah,
the store or something like that. Yeah.
right, or get to a safe house, or get to somewhere. um yeah, sometimes you're not thinking like that either. You just don't, you just have to get out of the situation, and
Right.
you're not thinking, these are the things I need to grab.
Yeah. That's why someone who is not in it emotionally, it can be strategic,
Mhm.
is really,
Right.
yeah. So Amy, so here we go. Right. So someone comes to you and they are currently, a survivor and have recently gone, maybe they're in their dynamic, or maybe they just recently got out, or like you said, you worked with pregnant teens, all of that. So I
Mhm.
think it applies in all of the areas that you've done your work in. What is the most important thing? Here comes this person. First of all, big step for them to even come to you, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Um, how do you get them to collaborate and connect with you so you can get them the help that they need? How?
Right. So, they've just broken through that wall of, that they were being thrown up against. They broke through the wall. How do they, like you said, coming to get help, I think is the first step. That's the longest sidewalk, on any base, is to come get help. That's what I always say. The longest sidewalk is to the chapel. That's where I work, in the chapel. Um, because it takes a lot to say, hey, I need help. I hope that I can provide a place of trust. Really, when somebody comes to see me, I need to be in the mindset of, yeah, I have all these things to do for the day, but this person is coming at their probably absolute worst, and they need my help right now. How can I get them to trust me? Which is what I think you're asking.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
especially with folks that have been so betrayed.
yes. Yeah, so, I want to make sure, like I said, I want to make sure they know, like, I'm in their corner, I'm on their side. Hey, let's get you to the resources that you need. Um, do what I say I'm going to do. Start with, do you need a cup of coffee? Do you need something to eat? That's really kind of the first basic survival mode, right?
Right.
You probably haven't eaten in 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever. Let's get you something to eat. So I start building my trust kind of that way. Want to make sure that they know, I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to tell people like, you know, misinformation. I do really want to try and get people the best help they can. And maybe they've been to somebody who they haven't had trust from
Yeah.
before. So I really want people to know, like, I'm in it right now. Let me help you through this. And I don't know if that's something that everybody has. I feel like a lot of social workers have that, or caseworkers, or, people who work in like the helping field. They do, they have that innately. And I can help. My other thing is I can help you to a certain point, and then that's it for me, hands off. If you need financial help, I'll get you to the financial person. If you need, whatever the help is, I'll get you to the right people, but that's it. I've done my job, and I can't be a crutch.
Right.
Right. Right.
So I do have a lot of, personal boundaries. I know how to take care of myself. I know when to say to my boss, I need a day. I need to step away for 24 hours and just not it just take care of myself.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's really important for social workers and caseworkers and those who are in the helping field, domestic violence workers, anything. Of course, that comes with flexibility. Of course, that's going to depend on your employer.
Mhm.
But I think you need to let people know. You need to let your client know, like, I'm here for you right now. How can I help you? Provide that trust. Um, they've already taken a huge step, in coming to ask for help. Let's
I
foster
got a
that.
knock on my door, guys. Keep going. I'll be right back.
you know, um, really foster that to get them to the help that they need. So that's where I come in.
I also think it's important, and you probably didn't mention it because it's just second nature for you,
Hmm.
is that people really appreciate people in these situations when they come to somebody, whether it's, a social worker or a family member or a friend. Um, you can't, I can't overstate the importance of being believed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I worked for a rape crisis center a long time ago back in college. And that was really kind of the basis of the center was you've got to believe the survivor. And the role that I played, I was with the nurse who would take forensic evidence
Mm.
to, collect after a rape had occurred. And I think I was just so in it so deep. How could you not believe somebody?
Yeah.
Because I saw the evidence being collected.
Right.
So that right there, it was so that's kind of where yeah, I guess it's kind of innate in me. Like, I'm gonna believe you. I'm gonna trust that what you're saying is the truth. Um and go from there.
Yeah,
Uh,
like it's a non-negotiable in those dynamics. You go
yeah,
going, I'm not even gonna question it. I'm here.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay, what are the things that you need? And I go look at my resources book, or I, find a phone number, or um we're so spoiled here in America. We have the internet right at our hands, and we can Google search, this is the problem that I'm having. Where do I go to look for help locally? But maybe your client doesn't have that. So I feel like I do that quite a bit. I've only lived in the Buffalo area for not even 6 months.
Yeah, you
So I'm
have a
still
Bills sweatshirt on.
yes, we are
Well
Bills fans.
done.
We've been Bills fans for a while, but
Oh, well, good.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out the resources in this area. I know the resources, the military resources that I can use, but if you're in the military, you don't want your chain of command to know what you're going through. You don't want your buddies or your supervisor to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I try to use a lot of local stuff that the military is never going to find out about. Um,
Yeah.
that's
Is there like a, and you don't have to answer this question, but is there like a stigma within the military for coming for help?
I think it used to be. I think it used to be real looked down on, but I have people come, and I mean, I had somebody, now this was at a previous base. Somebody would come every week, same time every week, and just come and just we talked about everything, everything about golf and football, you name it. Nothing military, nothing about their family. It was all like kind of sports and like very general. And the one week I asked this person, was there something, are you coming to me for a certain reason? Is there something specific that you want to talk about? And, he was higher ranking, and he said, I just want people to know that they can come and get the resources they need, because he would put on his outbox,
Oh,
I'm going to this certain place, which I said I work for the chapel, going to the chapel for an hour and just shoot the breeze and just hang out with my friend Amy. And
mhm.
they don't have to know what we're talking about, but it's okay to say, hey,
Yep.
I'm gonna go see Miss Katie Miller, or I'm gonna go see the chaplain, or I'm gonna go see mental health. I think that thought has kind of changed recently. I would say in the last probably 10 years or so.
It's
Agreed.
really cool that he did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, because I mean, he doesn't have to do that, but he would take
Yeah.
the time out of his day. I mean, he asked me all questions about my life, and I just by about the fourth week, I was like, well, what's his motive here? What's he doing? And so I just kind of flat out asked him, is there something you want to ask me? Is there something that you need from the chaplain? Nope, just come to say hey and hang out for an hour.
You know what
And
he is? You know that what he sounds like? He's a leader. He's leading by example.
True
definitely,
leading. Yeah.
Hmm.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And if I mean, of course, the whole base didn't know about that, but the people that worked in his unit and his shop, they
Yeah,
knew.
it
They knew.
matters.
Yeah.
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 So
He
so
was doing a great thing for them.
absolutely,
He was doing a great thing.
Yep. I've
absolutely.
run into that on my end too. Where that they actually did have things to talk about, but they were very, very visible about coming in,
Mm.
letting their people know where they're at, and wanting to model that. Yeah.
I really think too, we're gonna see a lot of that in the next, I would say probably 5 years, um, with us evacuating Afghanistan. And I mean, I know people who are there, and they saw some not very pretty things.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably hasn't hit them yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think over the next 5 to 10 years, I think mental health and um, psychological health, I think we're really gonna start to see that coming in.
I
Oh,
really think that there should be like, I don't know, maybe there is, but maybe in some places I think there should be a social worker or a therapist, counselor, whatever on staff for every fire department, every police department,
Yeah.
every military
yeah.
installation, schools. I mean, for teachers, for teachers and the kids, and I also think that people in your positions, what you hear day in, day out, um, you also should have support because
Yeah.
you hear it
Absolutely.
all. You hear it all. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, um, I think that's important. And then when we talk about resources, and this just like popped into my head when you were talking about what people should take when they're leaving. This is also why it's so important to donate to places like Child and Family Services and, Haven House. It could be money or it could be supplies, right? Like
Clothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will have lists. They have lists, and a lot of times you'll see, baby formula, diapers, toothbrushes,
Mhm.
toothpaste, towels, we're not even talking like fancy stuff, right? Like we're
Right.
talking like basic
Basics. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
In all sizes and female, male, and so it's important to do that. Um, Child and Family Services, every year you can adopt a family at the holidays. And the kids and I have done this, and you get a list, and they have like a Christmas wish list.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you can adopt a family and you can go like, oh, why am I crying? What is with me lately? So you go and you fulfill their
Because
Christmas
it's
wish
about
list.
giving
Right.
back and stuff. Yes, it's very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is.
it's because it's it's going to them,
Yep.
and what situation they're in.
Mhm.
And these are Christmas wish lists for kids who are displaced from their home and that may be at a halfway house or in a shelter. And the stuff that they ask for would break your heart because it is not like kids who are not in those situations, right? They want like, a headband, right? Or like a barrette, or, they're not asking for an iPad.
Yeah.
They're asking for like, and it does break your heart a little bit because they don't have
Absolutely.
anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right. Totally right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right quite often, Amy. I just want to point that out.
So here's a question, Amy. So, when you have seen, in whatever capacity role you've been in, when you've seen survivors of abuse in a parent and child dynamic, and you may not have this, I'm just curious. What, what has been the relationship you've seen between the child and parent that are both survivors? Have you seen that?
Hmm.
Mm.
I would say the closest that I have gotten to that was when I did work for that rape crisis center.
Okay.
Um, I did my last semester there, my last semester of college, I had to have X amount of hours. So, and that's where I volunteered. All of my cases, every single one of them, except for one, were all children.
Oh God.
Awful. I mean, horrible. And so that's about the closest I've gotten as far as relationship between, the survivor and the parent. And really my focus then was on the survivor. The survivor
Yeah.
was the child. So I wouldn't, not that I not that I couldn't, but I wouldn't speak with the parent because I was supposed to be there for the survivor.
Right.
And so again, it goes back to, the focus at hand. What is this person coming in for? What does this client need from me right now?
Right.
And I didn't do follow-ups. I
Okay.
was, busy with school, and if they wanted to follow up, they could go down to the center and
Were
see
you
really.
okay with that, or did that leave you a little unsettled knowing that you didn't know the
Oh,
status?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I have kids now, and it breaks my heart because I would never want them to go through something that I've seen. So I try to keep my kids kind of sheltered, and um I don't expose them to things that I know there's bad in the world, but I try to shelter them quite a bit. We've had conversations, and you know, I have two girls, and they know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. Um, but I haven't seen survivors of. I'm kind of a one and done
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I gotcha.
thing. They come to me, I get them the help they need, and they move on. And I hate to say like that. I don't want to sound dismissive, but I really have to think like, what is my role?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's dismissive at all. I think
Okay.
staying in your lane is a
Yeah.
gift. Because if you create any confusion in your role in that dynamic, that's not going to help them.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, the staying in your lane is, especially as women, I feel like we get so emotionally involved you really have to have that hard press of this is what I need to, and really being in the military has kind of taught me that I
Mhm.
can't go outside of that boundary.
Right.
I can see somebody later on in the work week or in the month or whatever and say, hey, are you okay? How's it going? Did you get the help you need? But I kind of leave it at that.
Right.
I don't need too much follow-up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, because you're one step on the ladder, right?
Correct.
And if they stop at that step with you and don't go any farther, well, then they're stuck, right?
Yeah.
They need to keep
That's
climbing the ladder.
that's exactly right. I am just a small piece, and I kind of feel like I said, like I'm a connector. So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe that person, you know, somebody comes to me and they don't, they either don't know who to go to or they feel uncomfortable going to that person. I can make that connection.
Mhm.
And that's what I really kind of thrive on, especially in the military. It just I don't want to say it's organic, it organically grows from that, but you know, there are clear definitions of what is acceptable in the military as far as ranks go, as far as, you know, can a young airman who's enlisted go and speak to a colonel? I don't have a problem with it, but I've done
Right.
it so many times. But if you get somebody who's really young in the rank and they're going to speak to somebody who's much higher rank, it's intimidating. It could be
Yeah.
embarrassing. It could, you know, you don't know how that higher ranking person is going to react.
Yep.
So I try to be that connection for people.
Mhm.
That's really my role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
That's great.
truly, I mean, and that's just basically case management in its purest form, you know, which is
Yeah.
here, let me be the person that guides you to where you need to be. And you, there's the risk factor. Then they just have to be honest about what it is that they need, because then you can make that happen, but not if you don't have the right information,
Right.
you know.
Right. And really, you know, I do tell people, you know, I'm a good starting point.
Mhm.
So the chaplain and I have 100% confidentiality. So even if you come to me and you tell me something, I mean, I can't say anything to anybody unless you want me to.
Mhm.
And even at that, there's a process for it. Um, but i- if you come to me and you want the resources or you want the help and I give you those resources, it, it's out of my hands. It's
Right.
up to you now. I've done what I need to do. I've done my job. And that sounds really harsh and really black and white.
It doesn't. I think
Okay,
that
good. I'm glad.
I think you're judging yourself. It
No,
doesn't. You
it
I'm
know,
glad.
Ellen,
doesn't.
I'm
let
glad
me
to hear
ask
that.
you, so just to, because, you know, Ellen developed this podcast as a survivor herself. And so you, instead of me answering that question or reiterating that, can you share with Amy why that wouldn't sound harsh for someone that would be coming from a situation where they needed direction?
No, it doesn't sound harsh at all because
Okay,
there's
good.
so many different components and you don't I mean, what if I would have all of a sudden heavily relied on one person and gone to them for everything and they didn't know everything and they gave me misinformation or or they became like, yeah, like a crutch for me. I never would have moved on. I mean, if I would have just talked to the same person and what if they would have given me horrible advice, like just
Yeah.
because they didn't know, right?
And
And
listen,
so,
I'm not claiming that I know everything.
oh, I do. I
Only
do.
for the kids, but like,
But everybody, but like along this process, okay, along this process, no matter what it looks like for each person, everybody has a specialty.
mhm,
I'm not gonna go to, okay, let's put it this way. I'm not gonna go to a social worker for legal advice,
Right,
correct. Right.
right.
right? I mean,
Right.
that they not maybe they have some idea, but or even if I talk to friends of mine, or if I talk to people that I support in a capacity, if I don't know something, I'm not gonna tell them. I mean, I would say, well, I would ask so and so about this, or I would ask so and so
Mhm.
about that. So you serve a purpose, right? You're specialized and you serve a purpose.
Well, thank you. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome. No,
Yeah.
I absolutely don't think it sounds harsh. I don't think you should have any guilt about that or any pause. You are fulfilling your role.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
You're fulfilling your role. And
Thank
then
you.
other people
Have
fulfill
different roles. Yeah,
theirs. Right.
Mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
don't think that is, I mean,
Well, that's good to hear. And I mean, like I said, good place to start. I'm going to keep all your secrets. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. That's really kind of, that's what I hold close to, because I'm not. It's nobody's business. If you've got something going on, I don't need to tell anybody. That's your business to tell. And the
Mhm.
way I explain it, to a lot of people is, if I hear if somebody tells me that they're pregnant, I'm not going to go around and say, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that Ellen is pregnant? Oh my God, Ellen's
God,
pregnant."
don't use that example. Oh, you just gave
But
me a heart attack just hearing those
sorry, I
two
didn't mean to give you a
words
heart.
together.
But it's not my joy to share with other people that you're pregnant. You
Not your
know,
story to tell,
it's not.
right?
And
It's not
so
your story to tell.
I talk a lot. I like to talk, but I keep mum's the word. I don't know you from, Janet. I just
Mhm.
I just don't say anything to anybody. And but I think that's why, we were given 2 ears to listen, one mouth to talk. So keep those ears
Very
open.
true.
I hear a lot.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I thought of what you could be referred to in the process for this people. You know what you are? You're their launching pad,
oh yeah, I
Ah.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
right?
that's
You're their
that's really
launching pad.
good.
And
Yep.
speaking of great expressions, one of my favorite is leap and the net will appear.
Yep.
That's one of mine.
Mm.
You should
Hmm.
have that on your wall
Mhm.
for your clients. So you're their launching pad.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
launching them off into, hopefully a successful, independent,
Mhm.
place where they regain confidence, self-esteem,
Yeah.
self-love.
And
Yeah.
I really do think, this life is not easy. It was never told to us that we'll just breeze through life. No, we're given hardships, and you grow from those hardships, and you learn what works for you, and what may work for Ellen may not work for Katie, you know, um, but I do think, you've got to take the leap. You've got to take that jump, and whatever your case may be. I mean, like I said, we moved here only 6 months ago, not even 6 months ago. Nobody made me do that. Nobody
Right.
told me that I had to do that. Um, leap of faith,
Right.
hopefully it'll work out. We'll see how Buffalo is for us. Um, but it's got to be in you. And if you're trying to get out of a hard situation, know that you're not the only one. You're not the first person who's ever done it.
Yeah.
There have been people who have gone before you. And that maybe you take comfort in that. Maybe not now, but I know plenty of women who have gotten out of domestic violence abuse situations, and I look at them now and, gosh, did you ever think you would get through it 20 years ago? Nope.
Yep.
But here I am,
Mhm.
and my kids are grown, or I own my own home, I am very successful in my business, or whatever the case may be. Um, I think you got to fight for yourself. You
Yeah.
got to know, and you got to know that there's people out there who will help you.
Yeah.
Because it's such an,
Especially,
yeah.
it,
Sorry, go
They may
ahead.
especially,
even be
so,
strangers, right? They may even be strangers.
right.
That's the thing. There are times when people that are closest in your life, friends or family, may really not know how to help you, and maybe they are just too close to the situation.
Yep.
Right.
So that's why it's so great that there are agencies and that there are
Yeah.
people like you, because
My
serve a
my heart's
purpose.
not in it that close. My
In that
heart's in it
way.
because
Yeah.
I do feel for people, and I do want to help people, but I don't have anything to lose,
Yes.
in that situation. So yeah.
Well, Amy, thank you so much. I would had about 6 more questions, but we're out of time.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Ellen, did you have any final questions you had to ask or anything? Cause you had questions too, and then
If I think of more, I mean, my most important one was really just how someone can get it started, because I know people who are right at that spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, like I said, the paralysis, right? So that was my big one.
Yeah.
Boy, it's always that first step, whatever it is. There's plenty of numbers, but it's that first step. Like you were saying, Amy, you know, the fact that they even came forward, and I can say the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True. What is it? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single
one.
step. Is that
Single
Gandhi?
step.
Buddha? Who is that? Gandhi?
I don't
Oh,
know.
you said Gandhi. I thought you said Randy. I'm like, who's Randy? Why are we quoting Randy?
That's funny.
Like, I don't quote Randy. Whatever.
Oh my God, Katie, you're too much. Well, Amy, thank you. And I'd love to have you back
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
ever wanted
Yeah.
to be back. I think
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
As we explore more. I mean, Katie and I still have like 6 topics on a list.
At
Like
least.
we
Yeah.
haven't
And then
even-
every time we do another one, then we come up with another topic.
Of course. Of
Mhm.
course. Well, thanks for
So,
having me. Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
That's been
Absolutely.
great.
Get me
All
to
right.
let me share. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Amy.
Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Everybody enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.